Right, so I just made one video about adding and subtracting with algebra tiles, but maybe you don't have these foam things around. So I'm going to show you a way you can also do it just by writing on paper. This is what most of my students are doing for homework. And so to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of draw boxes and shade them in. For this, what we'll do is we'll use just a regular box, a square, shaded in. We could say that is equal to 1. And if we have a outline of a box like this, we're going to call that -1. So they have the same symbolism. You could also, if you wanted to use colors or crayons or colored pencils or something, that'd be fine. But just using a black pen, we could say this would be representative of a 1. This would be representative of a -1. So we're going to look at a couple quick problems and sort of how we could do them. Actually, let's start with something kind of a little more simple. So if you had -2 plus 3. So if I have -2 plus 3, what I want to do is I want to draw two negatives. So I will draw one box right here and a second one. That means -2. And I want to add a +3. So I'm going to put 1, 2, 3. And since these are positives, I'm going to shade them in. And now I can look for any pairs, because remember in the last video we talked about how a red and a blue, a positive and a negative equals 0. So if I have a positive and a negative in here, I can simply cross those out, which means that -2 plus 3 equals +1. I had 1 left. Okay, so we can see sort of how that works. If we had something like 4 minus -1, I'm going to draw 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 squares. I'm going to shade them in because they are positive. And in this case, this is I want to take away -1. Now, to take away -1, I do not have any -1s. So what I can do is I can add a pair. And it doesn't change the value. This still means 4 basically plus 0. So this shows us 4. But I can take away a -1. So I'm going to cross off this -1. And then what I have left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is what 4 minus -1 equals. Again, I'm just showing algebra tiles, the same process, but drawing it, okay? And you might start to then notice some patterns, like when you're subtracting a negative, that's kind of like the same thing as adding, okay? That's basically just, we'll do one more, but if I had 2 minus -3, this is another one we're going to have to add stuff in. I have 2 positives, and I want to take away -3. Now there's no negatives to take away in this picture, so I'm going to put in some pairs. Each pair has a value of 0 but gives me a negative that I can eventually take away. Now I have 3 negatives. The value of this is still 2. But if I take away 3 negatives, I'm just crossing those out, what I'm left with is our answer, 1, 2, 3, 4, +5. Okay, so that's how we can do some simple adding and subtracting just with the algebra tiles.